On June 12, 1962, guards at Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary did their routine morning bed check. 3 cells appeared occupied as normal. They weren't. What guards found instead would become one of the most famous unsolved mysteries in American criminal history. In each of the 3 beds sat a carefully sculpted dummy head, made from soap, toilet paper, and real human hair collected from the prison barbershop, painted to match skin tone, tucked beneath blankets to fool guards doing quick nighttime checks in dim light. The real occupants were gone. Frank Morris, a career criminal with a genius-level IQ according to prison psychologists, along with brothers John and Clarence Anglin, both convicted bank robbers, had vanished from the most secure prison in the United States. Alcatraz was specifically designed to be escape-proof. Surrounded by the frigid, fast-moving waters of San Francisco Bay, it had never had a confirmed successful escape in its history as a federal penitentiary. That reputation was exactly what made this case so significant. Investigators traced the men's route through a utility corridor behind their cells, one they'd accessed by chipping away at the crumbling concrete around ventilation grills, using sharpened spoons stolen from the prison cafeteria, work that had taken an estimated 3 months of patient, near-silent digging. To hide their progress, the men built fake grills from cardboard and paint, good enough to pass inspection during the months they spent slowly widening the openings just enough for a person to fit through. From the utility corridor, the men climbed pipework up through the cell block, using plumbing as makeshift ladder rungs, eventually reaching a ventilation shaft that led out onto the roof of the building itself. From the roof, they used a large exterior pipe to slide roughly 50 feet down to the ground, a genuinely dangerous descent in complete darkness, without being spotted by the guard towers positioned around the island. The men had spent weeks secretly collecting more than 50 stolen raincoats, which they stitched and glued together to build a makeshift raft and life vests, testing the seams using a converted concertina as an improvised air pump. Their plan was to paddle roughly 2 miles across the bay to Angel Island, then continue on toward the mainland from there, navigating some of the coldest, most treacherous currents on the entire California coast, at night, with homemade equipment. The FBI was brought in immediately. 3 days later, searchers found a makeshift paddle floating in the bay. Later, they discovered pieces of raincoat material washed up on Angel Island, exactly the kind of debris consistent with the men's homemade raft. Despite the debris, no bodies were ever recovered. After 17 years of periodic investigation, the FBI officially closed the case in 1979, concluding the men had most likely drowned in the bay's punishing currents that night. But the Anglin family never fully accepted that conclusion. Relatives reported receiving anonymous flowers and cards for years afterward. Some claimed 2 unusually tall, heavily made-up men attended their mother's funeral in 1973, believed by family members to be John and Clarence in disguise. In 2013, a letter surfaced, sent to a California police station, allegedly written by John Anglin himself. It claimed all 3 men survived the crossing that night, that Clarence had died in 2011 and Morris in 2008, and that John, now elderly and ill, was asking for a reduced sentence in exchange for turning himself in. The FBI tested the letter for fingerprints, DNA, and handwriting matches. The results came back inconclusive, not proof of a hoax, but not proof of survival either, leaving the case exactly where it had sat for decades, unresolved. Over the years, alleged sightings piled up. 2 women told the television show Unsolved Mysteries in 1989 that they'd seen Clarence Anglin and Frank Morris living on a farm near Marianna, Florida, though investigators who followed up found no hard evidence to confirm it. The U.S. Marshals Service, unlike the FBI, never fully closed its file. To this day, they maintain it as an open case, periodically reviewing new tips and evidence as they surface, keeping alive the small but real possibility that this escape actually worked. Criminal historians remain divided. Some point to the brutal, well-documented currents of the bay that night as reason enough to believe the men drowned within the hour. Others point to the sheer planning and intelligence behind the escape itself as evidence these were not men likely to fail at the final step. Today, Alcatraz is one of San Francisco's most visited tourist sites, and the 1962 escape remains its most famous unsolved story, an open case the U.S. Marshals technically still investigate to this day, more than 6 decades later. Whether Morris and the Anglin brothers died in those cold waters that night, or actually pulled off the impossible and vanished into new lives, remains one of the true unanswered questions in American history. Follow for more true stories where the ending was never actually written.